right, well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Source Material Comics Podcast, episode 269, I think. And this week, we are going to be, we're still going to be getting into the supernatural a little bit here. Last week, we talked about Lock and Key. This week, we're going to be talking a book that I didn't even know existed until Mark Radulich put it on the schedule. October Faction, issues 1 through 6 from IDW Publishing, October of 2014. Looks like that was when the first issue dropped, and it was created by writer Steve Niles and illustrator Damian Worm. Now, Mark, I want to know, tell our listeners as well, why are we talking October Faction tonight?
Because Netflix adapted the series for their one of their TV shows.
Oh, okay. All right. So, yeah, like I said, I'd never heard about this even existing before you put it on the schedule. You ever heard of this book or even if it's property at all? Okay.
Let me, and I may have talked about this before, but let me show you a little bit how the sausage is made.
Sausage.
There are several different Wikipedia pages that are lists of original programming for various streaming sites. And I kind of keep them tabbed on my internet browser. And when I'm not busy, usually like once a week or so, or who am I kidding? Once a day, I will go through each one of these and see if they've been updated. See if any release dates have been put on there, if there's been any new content. And I was going through the Netflix one at the beginning of the year, and I saw a whole bunch of stuff listed as, with forthcoming dates for like between the end of January through February. The mistake I've made in the past is if I don't recognize something, I just assume it's, developed out of the ether, that it's not based on anything. Yeah. And that's why we didn't do the Umbrella Academy. Because I had no idea. No clue. Not wanting to continue to make that mistake again, I clicked on all the links and I saw, a lot of stuff that Netflix does is like based on novels. Apparently, Altered Carbon is based on a novel.
Okay.
I don't know if you've watched that yet, but one of my wife's friend's husband was pitching it to me last night. He's like, you should watch Altered Carbon. And I'm like, my list of shit to watch couldn't stretch from here to the moon. So, that's how I discovered Lock and Key. That's how I discovered October Faction. Couple of other things that I've thrown on the schedule, like, these are all comic books that were developed into Netflix shows. So I just threw like a bunch of crap on the schedule. Then they moved Bloodshot around on me, and I had to move everything again. God damn.
Damn it, pal.
Damn it, pal. Anyway, a lot of IDW stuff, as near as I can tell. They've, I don't know if it's just, IDW maybe has like a deal with Netflix, or they just happened to find a buyer that was willing to buy like most of their property. So September 28th, 2018, it was announced that Netflix had given a production series order for a first season consisting of 10 episodes. The series was created by Damian Kindler, who will also act as writer and executive producer. Additional executive producers were set to include James Thorpe, Stephen Niles, Thomas Walden, Eric Bernberg, George Straighten, and Melissa Blake. Production companies involved with the series included High Park Entertainment and IDW Entertainment. There's like not even a Wikipedia page for the book. There's a Wikipedia page for the series, and there's not much on it. But I will tell you this. We'll talk about this on the TV party tomorrow, but this thing, not great audience, not great reviews.
That's what I've heard.
Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 1 star.
Wow. I don't jump into looking at critic reviews or anything like that usually. I'm a word-of-mouth social media guy because you can trust everything you read, especially on Facebook and politics. Those two things go well. Peanut butter and jelly. I can tell you that most of the people that I trust opinions from have not really gravitated toward this series. Now, I watched the first episode, and you have a different story than I do because I thought it was okay. I didn't think it was horrible. I kind of get the idea after reading the series what they're probably going to go for.
I just want to read something real quick.
Okay.
This is an audience review, okay, from 1 day ago on Rotten Tomatoes. This show was terrible.
Oh, no.
I literally made this account to rate this show because of how terrible it is. That's it. What else you wrote?
That's wonderful.
Sense.
Okay. I wonder if there's like a lot of people that are faithful to the comic book series that were let down from the Netflix series. That's kind of what we usually see. But I think a lot of people are going to base the Netflix series on its own merits because not a whole lot of people knew the comic book probably existed. They probably didn't know it existed. So I doubt they read what came before.
That's the thing. I read the comics and we talk about them and I'm interested, but I don't have a whole lot of like knowledge going into a lot of this stuff. I'm going into it cold in many cases. So sometimes I choose stuff and it just so happens, like The Boys, for example.
Yeah.
We talked about The Boys and it ended up being a really good show. And we knew a lot of people that were like, oh my God, I can't wait to talk about The Boys. Like, there were people lining up to talk about it with us.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The show and the comic book.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea. So you never know when you're going to get a hit on your hands. When you're like, Lock and Key is another example. I had no idea Lock and Key was as popular as it was. Yeah. Or that it was going to send Winfrey into a fucking tizzy. So I'm just like, comic book adaptation, comic book podcast. Perfect.
Yeah.
And this is the first experience where we've walked blindly into a minefield of trash.
Let's talk about what we get here. Okay. Now we'll do this in 2-issue segments. We are going to draw it out. It doesn't have to be very long, but I have a couple things to say about each couple issues maybe. And then
this is not going to end in what did we cut?
Yeah. No, and there's nothing going to be on there. No, sir. So, okay. Our first issue, we get an intro to our characters here. We get the father, Frederick Allen, who's a professor, and we find out that he has a history of hunting monsters for some type of an agency. I don't know if they named the agency, but you see that he's had a history finding monsters and eliminating them, you guess. You see him battling what look to be demons, and he's teaching a class at a university about monsters. Frankenstein is mentioned and other classic monsters.
Which in 2020 is totally believable that you could take a class on monster hunting.
Yes, you could. What was that? One person's walking out of the classroom going, boy, what a creep show or something like that. And then, because they were talking about the professor and how weird he was. But then, like, the other person chimes in and is like, yeah, but this class rocks. So that would be pretty much, yeah. If I was able to take this class as an elective back in 1997, I would have done it.
Remember when college was useful?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Get yourself a degree in, like, pop culture arts now or some shit.
Yes, and not be able to get a job and pay $250,000 for the privilege.
Ugh. Dolores, the mother / estranged wife. In this first issue, we learn that she's not really all over the first issue very much until you just kind of learn about her relationship with Frederick and how kind of strained it is. I think there's a mention like they sleep in 2 separate bedrooms now. But by the end of the first issue, she's awakening this person. She had gotten a key. I think Lucas tells her about this. I don't know if it's in this issue or if it's in the next issue, but either way, she gets this key from this man, and she goes and opens up the storage unit. Inside this storage unit, all by itself, is this coffin. She opens the coffin. It looks like a coffin, and inside it is a body with what appears to have.
First of all, inside it was fucking what's his face, Robot Man from Doom Patrol.
And we don't really take too much action to try and avoid a lawsuit. We just decide to call him Robot Face. His name is Robot Face, or Dante, as we learn later on down the road. So yeah, there you go. There's the mother and the father, Frederick Allen, Dolores Allen. Then we have Jeff, the son. He's the first of the Allens that we meet here. We learn that he can see the dead. To me, he came off as a bit of an asshole. But nonetheless, a young man who apparently just graduated from high school, or Vivian, the daughter of the Allens here. She's an outcast goth girl, kind of strange. It's about all I got from this first issue. We meet Saunders, the housekeeper. She doesn't really do a whole lot in this first issue either. She's just the faithful housekeeper of the Allens. Then we have Lucas, who was Frederick's ex-partner from the agency in the past. I think he's still with the agency because he comes and visits Frederick at the university. And then we also learn that he's a werewolf. Then we have Merle Cope, which I don't know if we get his name in this first issue, but that's the mysterious man that Dolores is meeting and gets the key from. That's about it for the first issue. It's a great intro story to our characters. And it kind of leaves some questions at the end of the story, baiting you for more. Now, In the second issue, we get more backstory on Lucas and Frederick and their hunting days when Lucas got turned into a werewolf. Frederick finds out that what the kids have been doing. I think this happens in the first issue where Jeff and Vivian have captured some kind of like spirit in the house, and they captured her and put her in the closet. And when Frederick comes home, goes upstairs and he says, "What have you kids been doing?" And they opens the closet and out pops this shrieking spirit and tries to kill him. So yeah, Frederick explains, "Hey, look, you kids need to stop this. You guys I do not want you in the business of monster hunting. The kids are trying to follow in the footsteps of their parents, and that's obviously not what the parents want them to do." So in the middle of dinner, as they're sitting down waiting for Dolores to come home, they decide to start eating, and they get a call from the hospital as Dolores has apparently been injured. Remember, last time we saw her, she was opening up the coffin, and Robot Man was in there. While they run to the hospital and they're checking on Dolores, they are being watched by the menacing figure that Dolores awoke in the storage facility. Also, Lucas meets with Merle Cope. That's right. I was talking about this earlier. Maybe not. Lucas meets with Merle Cope, the guy that met with Dolores. And for some shadowy reason, Merle gives Lucas a USB stick in exchange for some papers. So Frederick's ex-partner is talking to this guy named Merle, and so is his wife. So obviously Merle is this... We don't know what kind of deal he's going on, but it seems like it's not good, whatever it is. Really, the only thing I got to say about these first two issues, I like our introduction to Jeff at the beginning. He's probably the one thing that got me kind of hooked there at the beginning, as he's walking down and he gets like accosted by this bully who, he's giving him a hard time, and Jeff immediately turns the tables on him by saying, "Hey, weren't you that guy that, got into that wreck and killed your 3 friends?" And the only reason he knows that this guy was the driver, I wish I could remember his name, but the only reason he knows this guy was the driver is because there's apparently 3 spirits that have been haunting this guy. Obviously, the guy can't see him, but Jeff can. And I thought that was pretty neat. But, like I said, good introduction to our characters in our first issue. Go ahead, Mark. What's your thoughts? What are your thoughts on this introduction here to the first 2 issues of October Faction?
It's a right proper supernatural mystery you've got going on. Why is Lucas portraying Frederick? You've got the almost typical, the kids are now coming of age and they've watched their parents do a thing and they want to do it too. And I think there's a lot of tropes. There's a lot of low-hanging fruit in terms of things we're used to seeing in stories, but that's okay. Robert Winfrey will tell you, boy, his ears are going to burn on this episode, that Mark Radulich likes simple, linear storytelling. Mm-hmm. He likes the familiar, except that I'm more in line with the average person than I am with the people who are outliers. Most people like familiar. Most people like things that they've seen before, and they've seen them in other stories, and it's just kind of, there's only so many stories out there, right? There's like 7.
Yeah.
And so it's really it's a way to, how do you rearrange the deck chairs, and it's performances, it's atmosphere, it's that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So with this comic book, I was interested to see what was going to happen next. It's a fairly simple enough narrative. Why is Mom opening up the box with Robot Man in it?
Yeah.
Why is Lucas betraying his friend? Why is Dad so keen to keep the kids out of it, other than overprotective parent? And so there's a lot of, they almost immediately throw some balls in the air to go and see, okay, if this is the kind of thing that I'm typically interested in already, the supernatural, monster hunting, mystery, then there's plenty of hooks here to start us off with.
That's right. You get the sense here at the beginning, and it continues through the series, our introduction to the family members. This is going to be a story revolving around the family, so expect that. All right, issues 3 and 4. So Dolores awakens at the hospital, and we learn she was Frederick's partner in the past as well. She explains she awoke what was in the coffin to get Frederick's attention. More on that here towards the end when I get to my final thoughts.
Not typical of a woman.
Oh my gosh.
Always waking up robot demons to try to get your attention.
I'm biting my lip until we get to the end. Or I won't have anything to say, because it's like, okay, I got to pick some stuff out that I liked about this book and what I didn't like about this book. And Dolores' character was one, and how she was written was one I didn't. So I'll talk about that a little bit. Outside, walking home, Vivian is confronted by the robot-faced figure that Dolores woke up. That's right. His name, by the way, is Dante, and he will go by Robot Face as well. Robot Face explains that Frederick killed his dad. So Vivian's dad killed his dad. Now, in the middle of this discussion / miscommunication, Werewolf Lucas, Frederick's partner, intervenes, and when tempers calm, we find out that he did not attack Dolores. Now, Jeff makes a friend with the bully that we were talking about in issue 1. Basically, just kind of lay it out on the table. I think Jeff says, look, you got some stuff you got to work through. This kid looked like the stereotypical letter jacket bully that you always see. He set things aside, obviously, and he sat down and he spoke with Jeff because their first interaction with each other in that first issue was not civil. We'll just put it that way. Anyway, he makes friends with this. Jeff makes friends with this guy. And then as Frederick, Jeff, and Vivian convene at home, they are met by Merle. Remember Merle? He's the shady guy that's been hanging out with Lucas and also gave the key to Dolores to unleash Robot Face. Forgot his name. So they're met by Merle, who tells them he plans on destroying their family and that he was the one that actually put Dolores in the hospital. So you go to the dude's house and you decide to tell the guy, hey, I'm the one that put your wife in the hospital. That doesn't end very well when Frederick pulls out a gun and shoots Merle right in the front of his family. So by the end of issue 3, Merle is dead.
So here's my question. Does
Yes,
Frederick know that shooting him isn't going to kill him for good?
Oh,
or did he think... Go ahead.
Now, you are right on track with what I was thinking, dude, because we do not know that for sure. It isn't spelled out, but I got the very keen sense that is exactly what the plan was. Like, there is some kind of plan that Frederick has put into motion, and it's not going to be resolved in these 6 issues, obviously.
No.
But yeah, I think he knew what was going to happen when he shot him, because he sits down and he says, I think he says, like, my God, friend, what did you look what you made me do. Now, you could take that one of 2 ways. Like, he came there, threatened him, and then, he killed him. And he's like, well, I had to do what I had to do. But I'm thinking that Merle might have put him up to it, or there was a plan in place already so that he would kill him. And so I think this is something that's going to be, another 6 issues down the road, which we'll probably never read. But I honestly think Frederick had some kind of plan or was involved in something, and this was all planned out in the beginning.
Yeah, I just want to make sure I'm clear about this. I don't know if Frederick knew that he was going to come back to life. It's like, well, I'll shoot him for now because it won't really matter. Or he thought, well, this should be the end of him. He doesn't know does he know that if he shoots him, because he's like, well, I came here to mess with your family. How about that? Like, all right, I'll just shoot you. And I almost wish that had been the end, like just Finn, and then like you close the book.
Oh, that'd been pretty dark.
Oh, that was a great read.
Yeah,
I didn't see that coming at all.
The end.
What a story. Totally messes with the tropes. Really undermines your expectations.
Well, I was not expecting that.
Subvert your expectations. That's what I mean.
There you go.
But I was wondering about that. I mean, I didn't think about it too hard. So when I say, like, I was surprised to see him, an issue later get resurrected. Mm-hmm. Not like, oh my God, I'm floored, but it was more of, I'm not really thinking about this. So when I saw it, I was like, oh, okay. Well, that explains why they dealt with that so easily.
Yeah. Issue 4 is the issue where they got to make sure Merle is dead, which is funny because I think Vivian points out to her dad as Merle is lying there bleeding on the floor that she believes he's not dead. His eyes are still open. So Frederick grabs a shovel and then hits him in the head. All right, so we're making sure that Merle's dead, and then they've got to bury the body, which I shared this one with you and Winfrey, where it was so hilarious. They're picking up, they roll the body up, they take it out to a hearse, of all things, that they own. They try to throw the body in, but it decide to try and throw it long ways into the car, which basically just bounces off the car and falls onto the ground.
I don't understand how, if you're a professional monster hunter, you don't understand size and shape. It was funny, but it also annoyed me.
The only thing that I could think of, like, I would think that they were trying to want to do this right, but Frederick does not want his kids to go into this line of work.
You think he, purposely fucked it up?
I think he purposely was like, okay, kids, here you go. Give it a shot. And I'm sure that just like I do with my kids, okay, you want to do this? Here we go. And you just let them do it and watch them fuck everything up. Okay, well, you can't put the body in sideways. That's what happens. It lands on the ground. That's not. Oh, how about we try to put it in lengthwise? There we go. Good job. Way to go. So, anyway, Lucas and Robot Face, Dante, have a talk about their pasts. Lucas wants to find out why Dante wants to kill Frederick. We learned that Dante's dad, this was pretty messed up. Dante's dad is responsible for him being alive, basically, okay? Mm-hmm. And why he looks like that.
Yeah, but from what I understand, they go on to reveal that he caused the problem in the first place. And then was like messing with all kinds of kids, putting robot parts on them.
Oh boy, yeah, those freaky little kids, those poor little freaky kids. Yeah, I would assume that he was doing some weird experiments. Something had happened where Frederick and the guy that he was running with at the time, this dude, which we have no idea who this guy is. He supposedly took Dante, took him out in the woods and beat him severely, bad enough to where when his dad found him, he took him back and thought, oh my goodness, well, I've got to use my crazy technology that I've developed on kids already to save my son. And that's why we have Robot Face. So there you go. And by the end of the issue, a woman shows up at the spot that the Allens buried Merle Cope, and she stands over this freshly dug grave and says, come the hell on, I ain't got all stinking night. And about that time, Merle crawls out of the shallow grave, still with a mortal head wound. Now he's maybe a zombie at this point, I don't know, but he follows her out of the woods.
I mean, zombies denote a certain lack of humanity. He was basically himself.
True. He was dead, but he was himself.
He was resurrected.
Resurrected, but himself. He definitely looked like a zombie. He just, he was, but like you said, he had, everything was kind of there. Actually, if I remember right, like initially he didn't, it just didn't seem like everything was clicking like it normally would. Like it was
he was rebooting.
There you go. Good analogy. Because by the end of like one of the next issues, he's fine and ready to go after this lady, by the way, her name is Opal.
That's like his sister, isn't it? Like she kept referring to Ma.
I don't know, man.
Ma.
I don't know if that's his sister, but it's got to be like a stepsister or something.
Ma.
Because there is a specific point where she says, hey, you know, since we aren't related by blood, you know, we could. I think she's like Opal's trying to get laid. Sure. By this guy, by Merle. Lots of questions in these two issues, Mark Radulich. Who the heck is Mama?
Mama! Mama!
Dante's dad and his creations. And like I said, I wonder if Frederick knows that the resurrection of Merle was going to happen. Like this is all some sort of plan. So
I believe Dante's dad and his creations are on tour with Phil Anselmo and the Appliances. They are part of Slipknot. All right, that's what those things are. They are the extras, just in case. What do you need the understudies? Slipknot understudies. There you go. Issue 5. Frederick begins to accept his children are going to most likely follow in his footsteps, which is, I mean, again, that's kind of the vibe that you get throughout these issues. We got a family working through some stuff. The kids want to follow in the footsteps of their parents. The parents are just like, no, you can't do it. Frederick is very adamant at first. He's like, I don't want to hear any more about it. But now he's starting to realize, after all they've been through, okay, well, I shouldn't have discouraged you. Let's be realistic about what's going on. Now, Lucas, remember Lucas, the werewolf friend of Frederick, tells Frederick he has cancer, but only in human form. It's only in human form. It's well known that werewolves don't get cancer.
That's what I heard. That's what I heard as well.
They have natural immunities to autoimmune diseases, so.
Outside of the house, outside of the Allen's house, Jeff confronts Robot Face, and during the fight, Jeff ends up getting knocked out. Merle, the recently resurrected Merle, is being attended to by Opal, the woman that led him outside of the woods, all the while talking about how Mama is going to be so upset. Mama! Dolores is released from the hospital. Vivian picks her and Frederick up to go home, and they explain on the way there about how they killed Merle and buried him in the woods. But when they walk into the house, Jeff is tied up, and Dante, Robot Face, says he plans to kill him in front of his dad. Now, in issue 6, Merle leaves, okay? The continuing saga of undead Merle. Merle leaves even though Opal says Mama's going to be so upset. Ma! Wait, I almost want to read the next few issues so we can see who this mama lady is.
You know who it is, don't you?
Who?
Ma Nucci got the ill communication.
Better. I should have known better.
Ma Nucci.
Frederick tries to talk sense into Dante. So he's trying to reason with him. But Dolores steps in. Remember? So I wonder if this is your favorite part where just like, okay, cut the shit. Dolores throws an axe at Dante.
No, go back.
All right.
My favorite part of this, she's like, hey, pull the car over. And Fred's like, but why? And she's like, so I can fuck you.
Perfect. So go ahead and put that down as note number 2 as to what we're going to address here. My final thoughts.
Okay.
This lady, Dolores. Okay.
I need more women like Dolores in my life.
Oh, I understand. I
need more yes women and less no women.
I hear you. I hear you.
Yep. To all the yes girls, at me on Twitter.
Dolores is definitely a take charge kind of lady.
I like it.
So yeah, in the middle of this discussion between Frederick and Dante, she throws this axe, hits Dante with the top of the blade of the axe. Anyway, it's the blunt end of the axe, knocks him out, goes through a window with him. They fight outside. She finally subdues him, ties him up, and in the next scene, all 5 are sitting around a table. We got Jeff, we got Vivian, we have Dante, we have Frederick, we have Dolores, all sitting around a dinner table. And Frederick Allen says, hey, the only thing I'm going to do here is make Dante eat with us. So he proceeds to have Vivian feed Dante as he's tied up. Confused, even Dante, obviously Dante's confused as to what the hell's going on. He just threatened to kill Frederick's son. Family members are like, yeah, Dad, what's going on here? They ask Frederick, well, why are you doing this? And it's at this time that Frederick reveals that Vivian and Jeff are not their children, that they were found and were orphans at one point, and they raised them. The children are not surprised, though, as they apparently have known this all along. They could tell. Frederick explains that their family does not turn people away and unties Dante, making a toast, welcoming Dante to the family, the October family. There you go. So they call it the October family, by the way, just because that was the month that this all happened in. Yeah,
it all seemed very convenient.
Big reveal. We'd have been reading a totally different book if this was done in May.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's the August faction.
So obviously,
what would have made this book even better? Because it has like a gothic noir feel to it. They're definitely. I definitely got an Addams Family or a Madam's Family, whichever you like, feel to this book.
Is Madam's Family a porn?
Yes, we've been over this.
Okay, just making sure.
That's the It Fits porn. What if it was Spring Break faction?
No.
And the whole aesthetic changes.
Oh my goodness.
Now everyone's got, we've got buxom babes, and we've got dudes with washboard abs, and it's all bikinis and Bermuda shorts and beer and partying and monster killing.
No, let's flip everything on its ass end, and it all happens on Good Friday.
That would make more sense when one guy comes back to life, because then you could say he is risen.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. Well, again, by the end of issue 6, we have more questions. Lucas has got cancer. I'm sure that's going to make a play.
When he's not a werewolf.
That's right. So, yeah, Lucas's cancer. What's Merle going to do now? I mean, Ma's yelling at him, and he just takes off walking. There's probably going to be a bit more about the history of the children, I'm sure, in later issues, because I guarantee you they have some interesting backstories. And, of course, is Dante going to fit in? I don't know if that will actually happen or not. I mean, this guy just tried to kill his, Frederick's son. Hey, Frederick killed his dad, so I'm sure that's going to cause a lot of tension later on down the road. But issues.
Well, they explained it. They were like, your dad's like a crazy mad scientist, and Robot Face was like, yeah, I get it.
After he kicks off the door, Lucas's car door goes flying. I thought that was a funny interaction too. When Lucas pulls up beside Frederick and gives him hell about the car that he's driving, and Frederick's like, "Isn't yours supposed to have a door?"
Don't make any left turns.
That's funny stuff. All right, so what's your final thoughts? Give me some overall thoughts on your on the first 6 issues of October Faction.
My final thoughts were, if you're into, again, supernatural mystery type stuff, then it's a fine book. I like the painted artwork; has almost like a Picasso feel to it.
I want to step in real quick about the artwork, because one of my final thoughts will tie in with that as well. There was some, just like you said, it felt like it was painted
With watercolors.
Yeah, well, the backgrounds are definitely. Well, I imagine the colors of the characters themselves are as well. But obviously, you have comic characters on the page, and they have this kind of sketchy feel, sketchy look to them. And there are some beautiful use of colors too. Yeah. It's all, one panel could be all completely red or shades of red, and then the next one, all of a sudden, things turn blue. I think it looks good. It definitely adds to the aesthetic of it.
The best part about this book is the art, and it's obviously not photorealistic, not even close. But I think sometimes with a comic book, you want something that has a point of view. The artwork should complement the story.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like I kind of don't like some of the modern comics to where we hired this artist because people liked him. We hired this writer because he sells books. We put them together and we made a mayonnaise sandwich. All right.
Yeah. That's a good point, man, because with an artist, somebody that does straight up regular comic books, this would not feel good. The story would not feel good in those hands. I want somebody like Damian Worms. What he brings to this book works.
Yeah, I think this is the right book for that style of artwork. So I really liked it. And I know sometimes I can be pretty harsh with artists, the one that I'm always goofing on, Scott Keith. I really hate his artwork. I'm like, well, what's the difference between this and Scott Keith? First of all,
you don't even give me a chance to fucking correct you. It's fucking Sam Keith, you asshole.
I legitimately forgot his name.
I know you did, and that even pisses me off even more.
So Sam Shepard, his artwork.
Nothing better. Should have just let him go. Should have just let him keep calling him Scott, and then at the end, said the word Sam, and then edited over him every time he said Scott, and then he would have been like, "What the fuck happened?" I mean, just fucking forget about it.
You should have edited like a buzzer sound in there. So Sam Keith.
Blank.
I'd have laughed. All right, so Sam the Sheepdog is...
That's Looney Tunes, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
That's what I thought.
So, all right, so what is it now? Sam Keith?
I'm not... You know what it is, Mark. Don't ask me, because you know now.
Sam Keith.
Sam Keith, you son of a bitch.
Okay, so Keith Sam, right? His artwork.
Yep.
I find his artwork to be hard to follow, juvenile. I don't think it really fit the stories the one or two stories that we've read of his. And maybe you can point to something else that he's done and be like, Rattledge, you're way too hard on the beaver, which is what she said. Mm-hmm. I think there's times where, like I said, it fits the story, and you can kind of get away with it. I think here it works. I don't think it works with some of the stuff we've read of his. I don't think the artwork fit. I felt like it was almost too simple, too juvenile, too deconstructed. I just didn't like it. But when you asked me what I thought of the narrative of the story, what I think of the book overall, a little too soon to tell. This is kind of putting the band together. It's 6 issues of how did this group get together and be called the Avengers?
Yeah, and it's funny because at the end of the 6th issue, we're still putting people together with the band. I mean, you think you're going to have just the family, and then we add another person to it.
Yes, their pet robot face. Would I be interested in reading more of this? Maybe. Just kind of see where the next trade goes, see what's introduced, see what's resolved. I'm mildly curious. I don't know how well this did. Do you have any idea? Like, were people into it?
Well, again, I consider myself at least in tune with some of the pulse of the comic community. This came out in 2014. I don't remember hearing anything about it. Bloody Disgusting reviews. This is not October 8th, 2014. So this is like right after the first one drops. Okay,
I'm with you.
Or maybe before. It says the October faction #1. So this is our introduction to all of our players. Disappoints entirely.
Oh God.
Yeah, that's rough. Let's take a look and see what they had to say here. I guess my major gripe, if the October faction #1 is that it doesn't feel like a first issue at all. And for a fresh IP with as much potential as this book has, I think that is a real disservice. here is why I say it doesn't feel like an issue number one. Frederick is the only character that is properly introduced. I have no idea what the kids are up to or what they are talking about. It does say at the end, it says the series has every potential to pick up and run with it. Perhaps it will be a really outstanding trade. After all, this isn't Niles and Worm's first rodeo, and the book is stunning to look at. It really is. But judging one issue at a time, I can't say I was blown away by this one. I mean, for a trade, just like you said, these first 6 issues, just like, okay, here's everybody, and here are all these questions. You need to buy the next trade to probably hope you can find out what's going on. Bloody Disgusting wasn't impressed with the first issue, but as for the series itself, hell, where are we at when it comes to that? It had to have stopped. 18 issues of October Faction. So it ended in July of 2016. Let's see if there's any other stuff that come out after that. There is something called Supernatural Dreams, which apparently was just recently. Yeah, that started in March of 2018. So that's been publishing recently. Deadly Season. That came out in 2016. That was 5 issues. So I guess I do have to go on my Dolores rant.
Yeah.
So the positive thing coming out of this, like I said, I enjoyed the book. It seems to be focused around a family dynamic. We got a supernatural setting. That's always fun for me personally. The issues, in my opinion, kept you interested. Once again, it was a nice, quick read. So those are all positive things. Now, for this day and age, to write a character like Dolores, I'm not going to say, it was a bad idea to write a character like Dolores, but wow, the sex drive on this girl. I mean, she's laid up in a hospital after getting her ass beat, Mark Radulich. She got her ass beat. She wakes up from being beaten unconscious in the hospital. And she talks to her husband while the kids are outside waiting. They then proceed. She talks her husband into locking the door, and they screw in the hospital.
Who doesn't want to get laid in a hospital? Come on.
I mean, look, I'm not going to deny that is probably top 3 settings for where I'd like to get the job done. But
get the job done? You can be a big boy and just say have sex. It's fine.
No, I don't want to do that. That's the last thing I want to do. Not here on the Source Material Podcast. No, sir. It's just awkward. It's awkward, man. It's like go lock the door. We're in a hospital. Like, the more awkward thing is the fact that their kids know. She's like, Vivian's on her. She's walking out, and she goes,
"These are adults. They're fine."
What, Vivian and Jeff? Okay, I guess you're right. I imagine Vivian's probably a little bit younger than Jeff.
It's not like they're 4 and 5 and they're like, go wait in the hallway. Here's a switch. Look, in defense of all women, and there's not a lot, but in defense of the women of this world who are willing to get their fuck on in the middle of a hospital after they wake up from a coma. First of all, I salute you. You cut the woman some slack.
Here's my thing. I think Dolores has a thing for hospitals. All right.
Well, she also made him pull over in the car.
No, she didn't make him pull over in the car. She got out of the wheelchair 5 feet from the hospital door. She wanted to get laid again. She's like, "Hey, did you bring the car?" And I think he says something along the lines of, "Yeah, I did." And she, why?
Oh, that's right. She said, "I would have."
Girl, you just got out of a wheelchair.
Well,
you just got down
in her defense.
In her defense.
They make you leave in a wheelchair whether you need it or not.
Okay, all right. It made me question, like, okay, something's wrong with this lady. Why do I need to see this? Fine, I'm glad that, Frederick and Dolores have a sex life, but
this was totally written for teenage boys.
Why do I need to know this in this book?
This was totally written for teenage boys.
Maybe it's just because she's, we're trying to get across the impression that she's a strong, independent woman. Just like you said, she takes what she wants. And the other thing is, the very first thing that she does after she wakes up and when she explains to Frederick why she let loose this guy that could potentially kill her husband is because they've lost the spark in their relationship, Mark. She wanted something that they could both chase. She wanted to feel that again. She needed the thrill of the chase.
Yeah.
I will go ahead and just say the purpose of her actions in this comic book are to support that clearly there's something missing. We found that out before all this happened between Frederick and Dolores.
Here's the real question.
Okay.
The real question is this behavior a one-time thing, or is this is she a source of chaos in this family? Is her role in this family to sort of turn things upside down and get people off their guard?
Okay.
And we won't know until we read more of this.
Yeah. That was probably the one character and the one thing, if I'm going to criticize anything, it would be that kind of took me out. And I thought she was hypersexual. That's the word I'm going to look for. That's the word I want to use. She was awful, hypersexual. But either way, I mean, still had a good time reading the book. Like you said,
yeah,
may get an answer to that later on down the road. So, well, tomorrow we have TV party tonight for October. Is it tomorrow? Is it going to be Tuesday or Thursday? Which one are we doing?
We're doing TV party tonight, tomorrow.
All right. So,
and then the Invisible Man is Thursday.
Okay. All right. So
that piece of trash.
So tell me about it, Mark. What's on the schedule? We already know what's happening tomorrow. TV party tonight. We're doing October Faction. We can talk about the fantastic time that we had watching the series, which I enjoyed the first episode. I mean, I thought it was okay. So it was out of. I'm a supernatural guy, so I kind of like that stuff. But it was kind of off the beaten path for me. So go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, look, I'm willing to see it through to 10 episodes. We'll see what happens. The first episode, I liked the comic a lot, and I don't know if that came out in this review because I made a lot of jokes tonight, but that's what you all love about me. Love me. It was fine. But that first episode, I was like, wow, this is nothing like the comic. This is more of like Mr. and Mrs. Smith than it is October Faction, but
yeah.
All right, whatever. We'll see what happens. I've got 9 more episodes to see if it starts to resemble the comic at all.
Yeah.
According to Rotten Tomatoes and people on it, not so much.
Quote them.
Yeah, not today. Not yet. Not even Christmas. So tomorrow is the TV party for it. It's just me and you. We won't have some nerd yelling at it for 3 hours that wasn't exactly what he wanted.
Review hadn't even happened yet. Poor Winfrey's getting a bad reputation.
And then Wednesday, speaking of some nerd, 5-Finger Death Punch, baby. Woo! F8.
Oh, man.
Yes, sir.
Fate.
War is the answer.
That's right.
On Thursday, we have another Damn You Hollywood for Thursday, The Invisible Man. The Invisible Man, Jesse.
Goodness me. I wonder if you can see him. Is he invisible?
Yes,
I don't know.
It's the name of the movie.
Well, what's the name of the movie? All right. Very cool. That sounds fun.
Yeah. No, it's all going to be horrible. But myself, Alexis Hana, and Robert Winfrey, I think are all watching that one, or I don't know. Let's see. Who did I write here? Oh, yes. Robert Winfrey, Alexis Hana, and Jason Teasley.
Oh, Teasley. The Protocol Son returns.
Yeah, sure. Protocol Son. Shut up. I was tired. It was dark out and there were wolves after me when I wrote that. Friday, myself and Pat Mullen are supposed to be recording another chapter in our boxing coverage, Cassius Clay. You can check that out.
That'll be a good one.
And then Saturday nights are right for fights. UFC 247, Adesanya versus Soldier of God. We've got a review of AEW Revolution, Super Showdown with Goldberg and The Fiend and Brock Lesnar and the Ricochet. So we've got the Lock and Key comic. We've got the Lock and Key show, Demons and Wizards 3. Yes, Jesse was finally touched by the Crimson King, and how did you like it?
Oh, it was wonderful.
It's terrific.
Yes.
Myself and Alexis Hana served up some green eggs and ham on Netflix, and that's it. That's all we got. I'm done talking now.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, go give the Radulich Broadcasting Network Facebook page a like to stay up on top of all the great podcasts that we have to offer. We are a part of the W2M network, so you can go into your podcast feed or your podcast platform, type in W2Mnet or W2M Network, and you should be able to subscribe and listen to all the great shows that they have to offer as well. You know, they got the Kickoff, they have Video Games to the Max, all sorts of great fun listens just waiting for you to get at them. And I think that's it. Hey, watch for an Unspoken Decade. Should be coming up, I think, this week. We are going to be recording our discussion on...
You mean Unspoken Issues?
Yes, thank you. Unspoken Issues. I know the podcast and it is titled Unspoken Issues for the Unspoken Decade. We're going to be talking Superman and War of the Worlds. So it's a it's an Elseworlds that came out. And it looks, I got through about 75% of it so far, and it's pretty interesting. It's an interesting style, and it's kind of like the Golden Age style. You take the 1930s Superman and you put War of the Worlds as the plot behind the story, and it's pretty interesting. I'm ready to get out of here, Mark Radulich. That is Mark Radulich. I'm Jesse Starcher. Bye-bye. Thank you very much for joining us. Do not forget to subscribe to our new home by punching in W2M Network on just about any podcast platform to get all of our content into your audio feed. Also, give a like to the Radulich in Broadcasting Network and W2Mnet.com Facebook page in order to stay on top of everything that we have to offer. If you'd like to follow the Source Material Podcast on social media, just follow @SourceMattCast on Twitter, and we are on Facebook @Source Material Comics Podcast. If you enjoyed what you heard, please feel free to share. We look forward to entertaining you again soon. I'm a sucker!
Sorry for all the coughing tonight. I'm having a rough time.
They won't even know you're coughing.
Sorry for all the weird cuts in this episode. So that's it. Stop banging on your drum. Like, I hear it clear as day in my ear as opposed to my ass.
Take the headphones off your ass, Mark. What are you doing?
But so if you banged him first, then resurrected him, different.
Any further explanation, sir? I don't want to cut you off.
I'm not saying necrophilia is something that we should promote. So not only are we talking about necrophilia, dead brother, by the way, not only are we talking about necrophilia, but we're also talking about incest. Why did you pick this book, you sicko?
I did not pick this book.
Is that too blasphemous? I don't know. Okay, well, it got offensive the minute I started getting into, hello, I'm Mark.
You talked about balls going into the air.
I know Frederick's balls went in the air. You want something that has a viewpoint, a vision, a point of view, which is also a viewpoint. Don't slut shame yes girls. We need them, Jesse.
Hey.
And they're gonna carve into my ass again.
Are they really?
Yes, they just scheduled my next ass biopsy. Want a little piece for yourself? I'll send it to you.
Make sure they analyze every little bit.
I don't know if you've ever heard that song, Janis Joplin.
Okay.
Take a little piece of my ass now, baby. I need more yes girls in my life to be in the mood for my shenanigans.
Yeah, especially when your ass is out. You need
yes. Oh my God, yes. Are you insinuating that if we pitched an idea to IDW, they'd let us write a comic? Because if they do, we should totally pitch Spring Break Faction. Soldier of God, Jesse Starcher.
Ladies, Jessies and Starchers.
Jessies and Starchers.
I'm the only one that listens.
Well, that doesn't make any sense because War of the Worlds wasn't a real thing that happened.
That's correct. Neither was Superman.
I don't understand.
You need answers as to why a fictional superhero...
Well, is it that it's Superman in the world where Orson Welles lies to a bunch of people and they start freaking out?
That is...
Because I feel like that would be really easy for Superman to solve. He just flies up and goes, "Hey, shit out here."
This show is ending. It's ending right now.
This doesn't make any sense. War of the Worlds never happened.